Welcome into another Statement Saturday. Well, these final weeks, they are Statement Saturdays. I don't know if the whole season has been, but today sure was. Notre Dame gets a big win. Texas A&M wins. Historic comeback by the Aggies. Indiana wins. Michigan wins. Miami's rolling as I speak. I believe it's a shutout at halftime over NC State. Bama and Oklahoma are going at it in an SEC rivalry game. And we got big visit weekends to cover. That's why you guys are here for the Recruit Reaction Show. That's why I'm here. That's why Steve is in the background right now, texting with recruits, getting this instant reaction from some of the biggest games across the country. We're going to break it all down. Guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys checking out this channel all season. We love doing these live shows on Saturday evenings, talking recruiting. You guys love it too. That's why, look at this. We're almost to 100K. We crossed over to 99,000 over the weekend. So let's get this thing to 100K by, I think we could do it by signing day. It's crazy, but hit subscribe. All right. Going to bring in national analyst Steve Wiltfong. It's been look at Steve on the phone. I can talk through this one. That's all right. We're going to talk Texas Tech historic comeback, 30-31 win. At what point did you guys realize A&M was going to win this one? Marcel Reed, he finishes with 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Both those interceptions came in the first half. I love what Mike Elko had to say about the comeback. I'm paraphrasing here, but he was asked about the historic comeback and how great that was, and he said, well, that meant we had to play really bad at one point, and they did play really bad. The entire first half looked like they were sleepwalking, just as South Carolina looked like they were sleepwalking through the second half. I don't know what happened to Lenora Sellers and that South Carolina offense in the second half, but they couldn't get anything going. Lenora Sellers, I mean, the numbers were there, I guess. 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But boy, 30-3 at halftime. Texas A&M comes back 31-30 to keep the undefeated streak alive, to keep the playoff push alive, to keep the SEC championship vibes high. At Texas A&M does what they have to do at home. Look, it's not always easy. We see it week in and week out, especially in the SEC. A win is a win, and a comeback win at home is really special, especially when you have the number 6 rated class in the 2026 cycle, the number 1 class in 2027. And Steve, there were top recruits on campus. You were just working the phone just now. What are some of the recruits saying that were at this game? Unbelievable win.
Yeah, no, Texas A&M is in fantastic position with so many prospects that were on campus this afternoon for what was an epic come-from-behind victory, the biggest in program history, erasing that 30-3 deficit to win 31-30 in front of a frenzied crowd. So many of these recruits added to the atmosphere. A lot of this recruiting class ranked number 6 nationally was back on campus. Yeah. Guys like 4-star linebacker Tank King, who said it was the best environment he's been in of all the times he's been to Texas A&M. And he talked about look, you're going to hear a common theme, the culture, the way Mike Elko has turned this thing around. And this is a absolute stone's throw away from where this program was, what was inherited. Did I use stone's throw right? I don't know if I used it right, but this program is light years different than what it was from the previous regime, the way that these guys battle for 4 quarters, the grit, the toughness that they have. And Tank King said these guys are playing for the guy next to him, and they don't want to let them down. They fixed the mistakes they made in the first half. They were able to adjust. The defense, the second half, played with everything they got. And it showed. Avery Morco, offensive line commit, said that the win showed how resilient we are. Madden Williams, 4-star receiver, said the Aggies don't give up. Coach Elko's changed the culture. It's a brotherhood and family, everybody playing for each other. Even down 4 touchdowns, they knew they still could win if they just kept playing. Aaron Gregory, one of the jewels of the class, a 4-star receiver from Georgia, he said, look, from the coaches to the players, as I get to know the players, some of them weren't really playing at their previous schools or limited play, and they're coming here killing it. It's like a culture of underdogs that have something to prove, and this is their year to do it. I hope we can keep it up for many years to come. That is the plan for Mike Elko and this coaching staff. Number 6 class in 2026, number 7 class in 2027. They had some 2026 targets on campus. 4-star edge KJ Ford was back. I think he's going to end up in Texas A&M's class based on the intel I'm hearing right now. Braylon Womack, I think the Aggies are making another push right now as we speak with Braylon Womack and his family. He's on an unofficial visit as they work to flip him from Auburn. How about 4-star receiver Jaden Warren, committed to Houston? He is a prized in-state recruit that they want to add. KJ Ford, Tank King thinks he ends up in the class too. Avery Morco likes the way it's trending with Jaden Warren. The day started off with a bang. I don't know if you mentioned it, Josh. I was on the phone talking with some people that spent some time in College Station. Raylon Henry committed, number 8 corner in the country out of Baltimore, St. Francis. He jumped into the fold for the Aggies. The Aggies have the number 4 class right now in 2027. A Rivals Prediction Machine forecast that I have, that colleague Sam Spiegelman also has, that I need to put it in. I'm actually going to put it in right here on the air. Jaquan Snell. I think he's going to end up at Texas A&M. I need to write this into my article. Yeah. So I'm going to need you to take the wheel for a second here before I give it right back, or before you give it back to me. But Jake,
I got it.
Josh.
I want to talk a little
Snell
bit.
is the number 3 safety in the Rivals rankings, number 5 in the Rivals industry.
I want to talk, Steve, a little bit about what this win could mean for recruiting, because you said, you feel good about KJ Ford flipping. He's committed to UF, so there's a lot of coaching stuff going on there. Plus, KJ Ford is from Duncanville, Texas, so that kind of makes sense. Looking to stay closer to home with some stability. But looking at safety, Braylon Womack, the 5-star safety committed to Auburn, and just the importance of what this visit means, because we talk so much throughout the season about how a win or a loss doesn't really affect recruiting that much. But here we sit 2.5 weeks from signing day, and there are no in-home visits after the season ends. There are no official visits after the season ends. This will likely be the very last face-to-face with Braylon Womack and Texas A&M and Mike Elko. Now, if South Carolina wins this game, like you just said, Braylon Womack, they're making a push right now. That means Braylon Womack is in the locker room with the Aggie staff, with the Aggie players. If they lose this game, he probably gets in his car and goes home, or at least there's a very somber goodbye maybe an hour after the game, but instead they win a thrilling game. And when we look back on this, if Braylon Womack flips, of course there's multiple factors, but winning this game could go a long way for the Aggies in flipping Braylon Womack. And I just think that wins mean more in recruiting as we get closer to the end of the season. Steve's working on some things right now, so we're going to talk.
I just think talks are promising right now with Braylon Womack. Now we'll see what happens. But look, Texas, this isn't a new relationship. Texas A&M prioritized him early, got him to campus a bunch. He knows it's a safety-driven defense. Look, you see safety blitzes in the second half that were completely disrupting South Carolina's offense and getting Lenoris Sellers and them off track, off his spot. That defense pitched a shutout in the second half. The safeties had as much to do with it as any position on the field. Mike Elko and his track record with safeties, Coach Ish, the relationship he has with guys, and his track record of development, and where this program's going, trajectory. Mike Elko, the 6-year extension being reported. I don't know, did our guys Pete Nakos report that or Brett McMurphy? But
yeah, Nakos reported it before the game.
Of course, he did a nuke bomb. But so look, the continuity of this coaching staff, knowing Mike Elko is going to be there for a long time. They're 1 win away from playing for an SEC championship. They've all but clinched a spot in the college football playoff, in my opinion, as they should get an easy win next Saturday. You take nothing for granted before they go into the Texas game, and if they're 11-1 to end the regular season, they're in. I don't see how you would leave Texas A&M out. So Braylon Womack, everything's there. It's about making him more comfortable with the idea of going to College Station this weekend, in my opinion. That was the big thing they needed to move on this visit. and we'll see ultimately if they were able to do that. But
Yeah.
it's not like they've come in late. He knows how Texas A&M feels about him. He knows about that defense. He knows the players. Is he comfortable in College Station? We know he was comfortable on the plains at Auburn around that program where his sister plays softball. I want to circle back on some of those other 2027s now.
Hold on, before we go to 2027, and I'll let you get there before we get out of this segment. But before we go to 2027, we talked about Texas A&M sitting at number 6 overall in the 2026 rankings. How crazy could it get down the stretch? And could we possibly see Texas A&M at number 3 when the dust settles? And hear me out. You got Braylon Womack, 5-star safety. We feel good about KJ Ford, 4-star edge, flipping from UF. But what about wide receiver Jace Matthews, the 5-star committed to Auburn? I know he wasn't at this game, but how crazy could the run get? What about number 1 athlete, 5-star Lamar Brown, committed to LSU? They don't have a head coach. Mm-hmm. I know the Aggies aren't favorites for all these guys, but they were in these recruitments at one point.
Well, I think Jaden Warren is target numero uno down the stretch here at the wide receiver position to add to what they already have in the fold. They love him out of Iowa Colony. This is his second visit to campus. Now, Jace Matthews is a guy that there has been some dialogue with since Auburn, since the coaching change at Auburn, and maybe even a little bit before. But they've been on the gas with Warren all fall. They have not been on the gas with Jace Matthews. Lamar Brown, I think, is a long shot, but someone that they've always been in the middle of it for, so you'll continue conversing with him. Obviously, they sent him that elaborate birthday message from the football facility, and they'll shoot their shot, but I think it's going to be tough to flip him from LSU. But, you know, we've seen crazier things happen. Ethan Booby Feaster, receiver committed to USC, he's another one where I think that Texas A&M and his camp continue to have some dialogue as well. He visited earlier in the fall, but I think Mike Elko and this coaching staff, general manager Derek Miller, all the assistant coaches, if they could close KJ Ford, Jaden Warren, and Braylon Womack, and you told them that would be it, I think they'd be ecstatic. And then you pivot to 2027, where you have you have a chance to finish with the number 1 class in America, and they're trending heavy for rivals. Number 3 safety Jaquan Snell right now, coming out of another visit for him to campus.
All right, what a thrilling win for Aggie fans. Talk to me and Steve about, were you at the game? What did it feel like? And when did you know that the tide was turning and the Aggies were going to pull this one out? Talk to us, comment section below. All right, Steve, let's head to Indiana. Yeah, we're talking Indiana Hoosiers recruiting, because we said heading into the weekend it was setting up to be a historic recruiting weekend, and recruits were there to see the number 2 Hoosiers roll Wisconsin 31-7 early on. It was a little close. It always is, because the game has to start at 0-0, so it's always going to be a little close in the beginning. But the way the A&M game was going, the way the Indiana, it looked like, hey, maybe this is going to be an upset Saturday, but the Hoosiers left, no doubt, packing the stadium with fans. They won 31-7. Fernando Mendoza, highly efficient, 22 of 24 for 299 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just unbelievable game. Charlie Becker caught one of those touchdowns. He had 5 catches, 108 yards. Steve, what are recruits saying about this one?
Well, I talked to the camp of Manshawn Sales, 5-star receiver out at Indianapolis, Lawrence North, talked to his coach, his representation, Jameel Smith, and he said Indiana's definitely in it. He's not going back and forth for no reason. He loves the Hoosiers. He's a football guy, and he loves the way that Coach Cignetti and this program are ripping and roaring, developing their players, putting them in position to be successful. And it was another great visit to Indiana for Manshawn Sales as they battle Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Miami, Michigan, Texas A&M, among others. Now, when you're recruiting a 5-star, when you're recruiting an elite wide receiver, there's a lot of boxes you have to check. Offense, development, opportunity. He's seeing an opportunity to play on the biggest stage. The amount of eyeballs that are on Indiana football right now after they beat Oregon, just the national love that this program is seeing. For him to watch them go out to Eugene and win that game on the road in the fourth quarter. The same with Iowa, same with Penn State. He's seeing the grit and toughness. This is a football team that had the number 1 scoring offense in the country, number 2 scoring defense coming into this ball game. He sees an opportunity to be developed. Players from his high school are playing at a high level, Omar Cooper in particular. Where's Indiana going to be at on the NIL front? We'll see, because I think Monchon Sales is going to field some major NIL offers. Indiana in the thick of it for several other blue chippers that visited today. Josh Ace Alston, he's a Rivals 300 cornerback from Cincinnati. Anderson has offers from coast to coast. He said the energy around the IU program really stood out. The coaches and staff showed a lot of love, and you can tell they're building something real. My favorite things about Indiana are how genuine the people are, how family-oriented the program feels, and how much they emphasize development on and off the field. Indiana is one of the early favorites for Noblesville, Indiana. That's Indianapolis suburbs. 4-star offensive tackle Mason McDermott. He's camped in Bloomington. He's been to campus a couple times. He's been around Coach Signetti, Coach Bostad, and this staff a lot. Indiana is one of the favorites for 4-star offensive lineman Hunter Mallinger and his twin brother Reese Mallinger out of Wisconsin. Bob Bostad loves Wisconsin kids. They've been to Wisconsin a couple times. Hunter Mallinger, he said, IU's definitely high on my list. I love the coaches. I love the school. They're doing great things. Brother Reese echoed a lot of the same, talked about the culture and the coaches he hired. That sets the program apart from others. Indiana had some elite 2028s there too, Josh.
Yeah.
Our number 2 ranked edge rusher, Asher Giotto, was there. He said it was electric, said it was one of his favorite things is just how the D-line staff treats them as a whole. So Indiana, they're getting after it on the trail, building real relationships with these kids, and then they have something they can stand on and an outstanding product, a team that on both sides of the ball is very dominant, and players are playing fast and making plays and standing out. They offered the son of Mark Edwards, former Notre Dame standout, a longtime NFL player, Xander Edwards, out of Jacksonville Bulls. He had a great visit. He talked about the relentless effort every down that Indiana plays with. And so he's loving the culture. Chris Miller's a quarterback, a 2028 passer from Georgia that's built a great connection with Coach Whitmer, and the coaching staff said Indiana is definitely one of his top schools right now. So the Hoosiers making some major impressions in 2023 right now, or excuse me, 2027 right now. And they had a major 2026 target on campus too this weekend. Colorado safety commit DeMonte Timms was up on campus this weekend, and Indiana is actually battling Louisville there. No better weekend for him to be up at Indiana for Senior Day, the home finale.
Yeah,
a sellout crowd, and I think Indiana's making a run for DeMonte Timms right now at the end of his process.
Nice. It's been really fun to watch Indiana this season on the field. It's been really fun to talk Indiana recruiting. We've never talked this much Indiana recruiting on this channel ever. We don't plan to stop. Indiana's not going anywhere. In the fans, Steve, the fans are loving your Indiana intel. I know you're a home state guy, but that doesn't mean that's not why we're covering. I mean, they're a really exciting program right now. And they're kind of new to this whole recruiting game. So when we see them having the season that they're having in 2026, I mean, you and I know there's not a lot of moves to be made down the stretch here, but don't you think Indiana recruiting is going to really get a shot in the arm for 2027?
Well, I think first you're going to see it resonate in the transfer portal as they go after some big-time guys, some guys that were all conference players at other schools that will choose Indiana over some blue bloods, and as they see Indiana as a place to play on the biggest stage and quickly be integrated into a system and then see your talents maximized. How about that? I mean, Kurt Signetti and his coaching staff turn around an Indiana program that struggled to win 3 games a year, struggled to win Big Ten games. Now they're one of the favorite. They've clinched a spot in the Big Ten title game. They're going to be in the college football playoff for a second straight year, getting guys to buy in quickly, know what they offer for your program schematically, and put them in positions to shine. Indiana is going to be a factor in the transfer portal, and I don't think Kurt Signetti signs an extension if he doesn't believe that there's not going to be support from the administration to help this football team compete for championships. He wants to win championships. He doesn't want to be the best coach in Indiana history. He wants to be one of the best coaches in college football history. He's always believed in himself. Google me, I win. Well, Indiana fans have rallied around Sig Nation and this Indiana coaching staff, and you see all these coaching searches going on right now. How are we not talking more about Indiana offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan and Indiana defensive coordinator Bryant Haynes? I'd want to know what they know about program building and potentially interviewing them and getting them into my system and running an Arkansas Razorbacks program that has had just about the same amount of success as Indiana football has had in the Big Ten in the SEC. And so maybe a guy like that would be fantastic for Arkansas, Bryant Haynes or a Mike Shanahan. Those are two of the best coordinators in college football. You only get to pick one of them to be the Broyles Award winner, but they both deserve the Broyles Award. You know, I know Ohio State fans, they always feel neglected by the national media. Matt Patricia is the Broyles Award winner. And certainly I know that Coach Patricia is deserving of the Broyles Award as well. I think he's got the best secondary in college football and a loaded group out there. I think Bryant Haynes and his coaching staff have this Indiana football team punching above their weight and playing hard and playing fast and physical, and it allows them to make plays. And so that's why I say Bryant Haynes is the Broyles Award winner. Wouldn't be mad if it went to Mike Shanahan. I mean, that's how good this coaching staff is. Those guys deserve to be in the mix for these head coaching jobs and deserve to be interviewed for those coaching jobs. And just the cohesionness, the continuity. Kurt Signetti's, a lot of guys on his coaching staff have been around him for a long time. And Indiana is the program reaping the rewards of bringing in Coach Signetti.
Yeah, they are, and we're going to keep talking Indiana Hoosiers football, Indiana Hoosiers recruiting. We're not going anywhere, and neither is Indiana. All right, let's move on and talk a little Alabama versus Oklahoma. This one, we're just out of halftime here in this pivotal SEC matchup. We're going to be talking more Alabama as the week goes on because it's a huge visit weekend. I went to Bama Online, bunch of five-star commitments on campus. A lot of their 2026 classes on campus as we speak. But, Steve, there's also a couple flip targets in Tuscaloosa this weekend.
Yeah, I had a story today. Alabama hosting Rivals 300 linebacker. Also could play tight end on the next level. Monroe Parton. I need to tag him in this story that I have up on the website. But Monroe Parton on campus right now says he feels good about Alabama ahead of the visit, and so he's there. Florida State tight end commit Xavier Tiller. I don't know if he made it to Florida State or Alabama, but I know he was expected at both places, so that's recruiting down the stretch, right?
Yeah, I believe he was expected to be at Alabama. I saw Andrew Bone was reporting on that this morning. But like you, we'll confirm if he made it or not. But yeah.
Well, I had it in my article for Alabama, but also wrote in my Florida State article he was expected there. So
well, that's recruiting 2.5 weeks from signing day.
Yeah, but the Alabama looking to make an impression on some talented 2027s this weekend as well. 5-star offensive tackle Caden Moss. He's the number 1 recruit in Mississippi. Alabama's in the middle of that recruitment. Jake Hildebrand is a coveted offensive lineman out of Arizona that's checking out Alabama. Texas A&M's Jake Hildebrand's leader, in my opinion, right now. Quintarius Gibson is the number 6 running back in the country. Ty Phillips is another tailback that they've offered so far. Hayden Stepp, the number 3 corner in the land from Bishop Gorman. He is in Tuscaloosa right now. And Jaden Apratio Bailey is our number 2 player in the state of Alabama, number 7 safety in the Rivals 300. So there's some really talented young players on campus. Our number 1 2028 defensive lineman, Kellen Hall, is there as well. Oklahoma was leading at the half, though, Josh. This would be a massive victory for OU. And let's turn this into a little bit of an Oklahoma segment.
Sure.
Oklahoma has the number 19 ranked recruiting class in the country in 2026, but they're looking to add to it. They're going to host on an official visit next weekend Carmel High edge rusher Dane Bathurst. He recently decommitted from Duke. And Oklahoma is a program that's really surging. Brent Venable is kind of taking the horns of that recruitment. And he's excited to learn more about the Sooners, has a friendship with Tyler Ruxer, another Indiana commit for Oklahoma, and just loves the tradition and pageantry of the program. He'll be out there next weekend for the game against Missouri. So he's going to visit Vanderbilt on Monday, Purdue on Wednesday, and then see Oklahoma over the weekend. And then Nebraska is set for the following weekend. But Oklahoma is a program that I am really watching in the recruitment of Dane Bather. Same for four-star running back Messiah Mickens. He's committed to Penn State. He's going to be at Oklahoma in 2 weekends for the LSU game. Yeah. He also mentions Ole Miss and Indiana in his top three. From those top three, Oklahoma is pushing for him the hardest right now. And we'll see who gets hired at Penn State. He's only 90 minutes down the road. But right now, Oklahoma picking up steam there. They're in the mix to flip Jaden Pettit, a receiver from Florida who's having an excellent senior year, committed to Wisconsin right now. So Oklahoma, if they can beat Alabama today, they have a shot at the college football playoff. It really shakes things up in the SEC. And you certainly can't take a 2-loss Alabama team over a 2-loss Oklahoma team for the college football playoff. Yeah. If Oklahoma goes into Tuscaloosa and gets a dub. Now, Alabama, all right in the world for them. They just take a 1-point lead as we talk live. But Oklahoma has showed a lot of grit and toughness this year. They're looking to close strong on the trail, and they're looking to close strong in this game against Alabama here in the second half.
Yeah, and they've really been strong in their 2027 recruiting as well. So we'll watch and talk Oklahoma throughout the week. It's been a fun one, so we'll keep an eye on those two programs, Alabama and Oklahoma. But now let's turn our attention to maybe what is shaping up to be the game of the night, Georgia versus Texas. And this one has 5 stars flocking to Athens. We talked through the week about Jared Curtis making it to campus for this one. We have no concerns over the recruitment to Vanderbilt, at least as of now. There's no concerns. But also an absolutely loaded list of 2027s that are going to be on campus right now in Athens. Steve, who are some of the headliners? What stands out to you about this big recruiting weekend for Georgia?
Well, obviously, the first one I always think about with Georgia in the 2027 class is prized in-state pass rusher David DJ Jacobs. He's the number 1 player in the state per the Rivals industry. Mm-hmm. He is someone that you have always kind of marked as Georgia being the team to beat in his recruitment. But there's major competition. He likes Notre Dame a lot, likes Texas A&M a lot, been down to Miami a few times, has some connections to that program through Mark Richt. So anytime Georgia can get him back to campus and continue to remind him why he's so high on the Bulldogs, it's a good thing. A couple quarterbacks this weekend, Elijah Haven, Colton Nussmeier. I think it's interesting, this Colton Nussmeier recruitment, because my prediction's on LSU.
Right.
Major staff changes there.
Yeah.
Quarterback depth chart changes there. I think Georgia becomes an interesting team to watch because Florida and Alabama are the other contenders. And I have Alabama trending for Kwame Haven's his dad, Elijah Haven, who's the number 1 quarterback in the country per the Rivals industry. He's also at Georgia this weekend. But yeah. I think Georgia, I would not be surprised if they landed Nussmeier. And we talked about that on the Wiltfong Whip-Around on Thursday. But with the coaching changes at Florida, LSU, and Alabama kind of being in on these 2 guys and already having Trent Seaborn committed, I think Georgia becomes the very interesting school to watch for Colton Nussmeier. Joshua Sam Appel is as coveted as anyone on campus, a massive offensive tackle from in-state. I like where Georgia stands there. I think he is a major name. In 2028, number 1 overall recruit per the Rivals industry, quarterback Jaden Wade visiting Georgia. I think if all goes well, he ends up in the Bulldogs class. We're going to have his commitment on the Rivals YouTube channel tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m.
Yeah, in like 12 hours, he's going to be committing with us or committing on this platform.
I think he's dogs to lose there, and that would be a massive pickup early in the cycle as he's going to be a lightning rod recruit for his peers and really could help recruit in 2027 as well with just the magnitude and reputation that he is going to have.
Yeah. And you mentioned Kamon Spell on campus as well.
He's not. He had a playoff game.
Oh, okay. So good to cross that one off. We expected the number 1 running back in America, Kamon Spell, but like Steve said, playoff game. He's not in Athens this weekend, but I'm sure he will be soon. Anything else recruiting-wise before we move on? When it comes to Georgia, you feel good about Jared Curtis. Anything moving in their 2026 class, or is it pretty much just hang on to what you got for the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, Jared Curtis continues to tell colleagues he's locked in with Georgia. Obviously, Vanderbilt will try to chip away, but he's excited about his future and was excited to take this visit for a long time and loves the way that Georgia recruits, the talent that'll be around him, the stage they play on, the consistency and level of competition. And his family loves the Bulldogs too. How about Tyree Jemison? He's a former Kentucky offensive line commit from in-state, having a terrific senior season.
Yeah.
That one looks to be trending Georgia's way. He visited earlier this fall. I believe the win over Tennessee, or was Georgia? Georgia was at Tennessee. So the win over Ole Miss was at the win over Ole Miss. Elijah Littlejohn, Penn State linebacker commit, expected back this weekend as they battle Vanderbilt for him. Does 4-star safety Blake Stewart make it? Miami's the prediction, but Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt also in the middle of that one.
All right. Let's move on and talk some Ohio State, as UCLA and Ohio State are getting ready to get lined up and kick off to mark another Big Ten battle. And when it comes to on the field and off the field, nobody's hotter than Ohio State right now, especially in recruiting. They have just been methodically taking what they want, and we got 2.5 weeks till signing day. Steve, what else does Ohio State want between now and December 3rd?
Well, I think they'd love to land another elite cornerback prospect. CJ Brona, committed to Florida, is someone that has really risen on their board. And Coach Tim Walton has been on the gas for him. They just flipped Jay Timmons from Florida State rivals number 2 cornerback. Now they want to go land CJ Brona, who's got an elite skill set, one of the fastest players in the class, committed to Florida, but taking an official visit this weekend, and things look to be trending up. He talked to me about the development of the program and the culture that Ohio State has. 4-star edge Dre Quinn. Texas is a contender. Georgia Tech, Tennessee, Miami. This is a second game visit to Ohio State this year. The Buckeyes are certainly in the middle of that one. Another linebacker, Braxton Rembert, committed to Wake Forest, same high school as Caleb Downs. He's on an official visit this weekend. He loves the culture and standard of Ohio State. So those are some big visitors in 2026. And then in 2027, headliners include the number 2 tight end in the land, Brock Williams, out of Libertyville, Illinois. Texas and Georgia are his other favorites. Ohio State's had a lot going in this recruitment for a while. And then Eli Johnson, number 8 safety in America. Sam Spiegelman and I predicted him to the Buckeyes ahead of this trip. And he's back on campus, and so is Brody McNeil, 4-star Rivals 300 offensive lineman from Virginia. I predicted him to Ohio State in the last week. He's back on campus this weekend. As Ohio State really gets ahead on their offensive line recruiting, I would not be surprised if he's one of the next in the fold.
Yeah, looking really good there. Now, I think one of the most exciting names we talk about is 4-star edge Dre Quinn. He was previously committed to Clemson. Took that visit to Tennessee, reopened things about 2 weeks later. Texas is heavily involved here. Ohio State is heavily involved here. Who else is in the running for Dre Quinn? Or is it just those 2?
Well, I think Tennessee, Texas, and Ohio State, I would tab the front runners, but Georgia Tech and Miami are in it as well.
Yeah, I forgot. Dre Quinn did take that trip down to Miami, so we'll see what he says coming out of this one. The game hasn't kicked off yet, so Steve will be talking to him leaving this one or tomorrow. So we'll be talking more Ohio State, more Dre Quinn as the week goes on. All right, let's talk Miami. The Canes are in the process, I believe, the last time I checked, of blowing out NC State at home, and Miami, they just need a win. There's a lot of craziness going on, and I know the chances of them making the playoffs right now don't seem great. Oh, yeah, it's a blowout. 34-0 right now as me and Steve talk. But you see Louisville lose. You know, Miami, they still got a shot here, Steve, and this weekend they're taking care of business. They also, on the trail, they want to close strong. Colorado Buffalo commitment Gavin Mueller is a really intriguing name taking an official visit this weekend. 6'6", 250-pound pass catcher. Sounds like exactly what Miami looks for at a tight end.
Averaging 15 yards per touch as a senior, 30 touchdowns, over 1,300 all-purpose yards. And he kind of reminds of Elijah Arroyo, who went in the second round out of Miami to the Seattle Seahawks. This weekend is all about Gavin Mueller and getting him into the class, a class that has risen into the top 10 nationally. They'd like to add some guys like four-star safety Blake Stewart moving forward. But Gavin Mueller on campus with a bunch of Miami commits. It's his second time coming up for a game. Brought his parents this time, looking to make everyone feel at home in Coral Gables as Miami makes a run at the college football playoff. And if the Hurricanes make the college football playoff, this season was a success, and they'll look to continue to climb that mountain towards a national championship at Mario Cristobal's alma mater. But Gavin Mueller is a guy that they believe can help get them there. He is having as dominant a senior season as anyone in the country. And Miami is definitely on the rise in this recruitment. And I could see him playing his college football for the U.
Yeah. And this is the second Colorado. Colorado doesn't have a ton of 2026 commitments. This is the second one on today's show that we're talking about taking an official visit elsewhere. What are the odds that Colorado could hold on to him? And is anybody else trying to flip him besides Miami?
Well, North Carolina's involved, so they're always a program to watch with some of the things that they're offering on and off the field. But second visit to Miami, bringing his parents on this trip, I think that's a tell of where Miami stands.
Okay, good move. Anything else Miami would like to accomplish between now and signing day when it comes to 2026?
Well, I think safety. Again, Blake Stewart is one of their top targets on the board right now. They would love to add him to the class. Gavin Mueller is a major target for Miami right now. They've loaded up on the defensive line recently. Maybe they'll get another running back, whether that's Amari Latimer or Derek Cooper. I mean, those are guys that they're having dialogue with. Those are guys that visited this fall. So we'll see if Miami wants to push and invest at the running back position down the stretch beyond what they already have in the fold. But look at that, man. 416 total yards to 82 for NC State and the
dominating performance. Do you think and then we also know Miami's going to take a big swing at the edge position because they got Anthony Tank Jones on the board, Nolan Wilson, and Dre Quinn. So maybe do you think they could land one of the three? Or is it a long shot for all three right now?
What's the question?
You got three elite edges that they're involved with. Nolan Wilson committed to Alabama, Anthony Tank Jones committed to Oregon, and Dre Quinn uncommitted. You see any Miami have a shot at any down the stretch?
I mean, Tank's at Oregon this weekend, at Oregon again next weekend. Nolan Wilson, no movement, in my opinion. And Dre Quinn, he's uncommitted. He's uncommitted, so we'll see what happens there.
But they're probably on the outside looking in with Ohio State and Texas and maybe even Tennessee. All right. Well, Miami coming up big today, 34-0 as we talk, and they're only in the third quarter, so exciting times there in Miami. And, Steve, that is it for Recruit Reaction. But we're going to be talking this stuff all week long because the visits don't stop, and signing day is only 2.5 weeks away. Does it feel like the cycle's coming to an end? Are you ready for it to come to an end?
I am beyond ready for it to come to an end. Thanks for tuning in. Hit like and subscribe. We'll see you Inside Scoop on Sundays, Whoop on Whip Around on Monday. We'll be back.